right, I think I worked out the issue of stuffage. There we go. Smartaaaa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. How are you? How you doing? I thought I'd, in true festivity, break out my my Avengers Captain America hoodie that I wear on regular occasion. By the way, whenever you see me wearing a jacket with a hoodie accompaniment, where I double up, especially on airplanes, where a jacket might work where you're going, or a hoodie by itself, but not usually both layers being what they are as a Chicagoan. I see all people who live in real weather areas that you might want to be able to break down without totally breaking down. You want your choices between parka and nudity. And this will be the one that I am wearing underneath the jacket at all times. Just saying for the record. Happy 4th of July, everybody. And I not only say that because I genuinely wish it upon you, and I like you. I genuinely do. But also for those that it irritates, the Votniks, the Tankies, the general jerkweeds who seem to think that crap talking the United States is in its own way a form of activism, which I find hilarious, especially if I might add. And hello, chat room. I love you, and I'm glad you're here. Happy 4th of July. Yes, it is a holiday show. I know that. That that the folks that crap talk it from here are particularly amazing to me. We've talked about this before, and I do not have a love it, America love it or leave it attitude about this place. I think you should question, and you should be able to question every aspect of it, and that's kind of what makes it great. I do think there's an ROI on it. There's a return on investment. The ROA would be a return on asshole. Anyway, so on it, where at a certain point you jump the shark in it. Where you're talking such shit about the United States that you're like, how in good conscience can you still live here then? I mean, look at Jimmy Dore, our favorite Marxist millionaire, who is nonstop saying that not only is the United States irredeemably evil, but is the source of all terrorism in the world. And I am not speaking this is not hyperbole. Not a joke. He genuinely says that. And the reason I could say it's not a joke is because he has so few. And usually if he does have any, they are someone else's and not very good. That said, do I get time and a half? That's up to you guys, Kath, honestly. So happy 4th. Thanks. 51.8 thousand subscribers. We're hitting that 52 mark soon. I just know it because you're going to subscribe. Yes, you are. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you are, whenever you are. Why is Gamora? I suggest that, hold on, wait for it. Here it comes. I had to put it somewhere. I didn't install it on this one. I gotta get better at this. You've got to subscribe. I insist. By golly, by gum. Subscribe today. It's a holiday. You don't have other stuff to do. You're like, all right, I'll do the hard work of clicking. I'll click. It'll be finally. I'm going to just do that thing where I click that little thing that I've done for a bunch of other people, but I haven't done for Hal yet. I'm going to do that. All right, today's the day. Happy 4th of July. And to those people that criticize the government and criticize the country and even the Constitution itself, congratulations on living in a country where you can. See how that works? Again, that's why I like the flag so much, because the U.S. flag is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of flags. The more you attack it, the stronger it gets. Because you can attack it, and that's kind of the fucking point. Anyways, so there's lots to cover. Mostly today, what we'll be covering, just to amuse ourselves largely, is the maggot crowd that somehow, some way, somewhere, somewhen, something, something or other, manages to shit on America in the name of America. It's very weird. Like, cause I get it when the angry faux-aggressives do it, and it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, they've always resented the country they were safe enough to grow up in, and it, in favor of a country that had they grown up in it, they wouldn't have grown up at all. they would have been pushed out a third floor window or drowned or what have you. Or God forbid, if they were female, they might have been selectively aborted because of one children policies and the like. But, keep at it. Whatever. Yeah. Let's see. If you're out in the country, have fun. But when you live in the city, be respectful. Many folks have PTSD and the dogs and cats freak out. Oh, with fireworks. Yes, go easy on the fireworks today. Just go watch the things. Oh, Summer got me a refresher when she went to Starbucks earlier. And so I'm sipping on that. It's actually, I need ice in it. It's been sitting for a while. So anyways, welcome. Glad you could be here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just being you, for being Americans. And if you're not Americans and you're watching the show and you're not a paid troll, obviously, I mean, and it's not that you're not welcome here. Don't get me wrong. It's that, I just don't think if I said to you, hey, come on over and come and, hop in here and join us as Americans. Let's see. Celebrate July 4th, but don't hide from the rest of our history and constant battle against reactionary and violent movements, killing Indians, enslaving blacks. Yeah, but in God we trust, right? I mean, again, I get where you're going with that to some degree. But the reality of it is that, for example, this part was in large part done by the Brits before they became Americans under the name of monarchy, and the Spaniards under the name of monarchy, which is why, by the way, you don't actually think Spanish is an indigenous language. It's as European as English or as French. And so between the English, the French, and the Spanish steamrolling through here, there's just something weird about how people thinking Los Angeles, being called Los Angeles, is something more normal than it being called Victorville or something, which it ain't. So just for that part. So, and they did plenty of this to each other as well. But for geography and boats being involved, there's very little difference in the expansion of the sort of an intermingling, I guess, to some degree, of tribes and Eastern European and Northern European and Western European groups coming to the United States as there was them splitting through each other. Somehow the ocean's supposed to make it different, but it ain't. Anyways, so this part, the enslaving part, the United States and England outlawed it before everybody else. And while it was awful and terrible and chattel slavery was bad, and I'm glad we got over it, and we should be proud of that fact. That's a good thing. A lot of other places still haven't. There's more slaves now on Earth than there ever were. And the number of slaves coming from Africa that came on the ships that the Dutch slave trade started and all this stuff. Remember, only about 6% went to the United States. They're the region that would become the United States, which wasn't fully the United States yet. That said. So, and the "in God we trust" part, while it gets thrown around on the money, and we almost associate God with money because of that stupid act. There was an attempt at one point to put the idea of God on the money to somehow make people act a little better around it, that if they had at least a spooky idea of religion within them, that it would act as a mitigatory step towards their behavior when it came to money. Would be an important part of that conversation. Didn't quite work out that way. A little bit strange, but again, it's it could work. It would have worked just as well to me saying "in God's we trust," because that's a little closer to the truth, and especially at that time. So in God, that's right. In God We Trust was a Cold War edition because of, it was a couple things. One was, of course, communism being atheistic and therefore making that distinction, which is a distinction, by the way. And so on a societal level, pound for pound, your religiously pluralistic societies always do better than orthodox, singular, monotheistic societies and your atheistic societies by themselves. It's just in general. If you're allowed to think whatever you want about whatever your spiritual path is or not have one, if that's how the country operates, you'll always do better than the ones that say you have to or you're not allowed to. That's kind of the key. It's that whole freedom thing. Yeah. So lots of stuff. In God We Trust. All others pay cash. Yes. Let's see. Wendy S. How's the new pooch? I hope that thing. There you go. Hi, Karen. Oh, the cookies. I'm sorry if you don't like the cookie. Watching, we do have trolls. Where's this mythical atheist society? It would be China and Russia, Soviet Union and Maoist China. These are officially atheist societies. Now, people break out, and especially out in the places where they don't police people as much, they'll often, kind of look the other way. But if religion gets to play too great a part in the society as a whole, they'll shut it down, and then it becomes a zero sum. Atheism allows me to think whatever I wish. That's true, except that there might be a God or a spiritual life beyond this physical one. It doesn't allow you to think that. It's an orthodoxy. That's okay. It's fine, but it has its limits, as all orthodoxies do. There you go. That's the point. The point is allowing people to work it out for themselves. And that will always be better than someone saying this is absolutely the path and there is no path at all. What about Russian Orthodox? It does not work. It is an arm of the government. That's exactly what its purpose would be. Life is exhausting? Oh, by no means. Come on, Michael. Come on, it's not exhausting. Which part? The sleep part or the eating part? I find that I'm often atheism isn't a claim. That in and of itself is a claim, Bob. The claim that atheism isn't a claim is in itself a claim. Lack of belief is an assertion, whether it's based on on knowledge or not. We could have this. It's a philosophical discussion. It doesn't matter. Here's the beautiful part. Welcome to America. Happy 4th of July. You're allowed to have that whole conversation. Isn't it nice? Isn't that good? God is trans. It depends on which one. There are some that are like that, clearly. Atheism is denial. And, well, I suppose if it's an act, atheism is not an orthodoxy. Yes, it is. It has there are no variants of it. It does not consider agnosticism a variant of it. Pagans have more fun. There's an argument for that. I think in many ways, had the polytheistic religions of Europe made its way over to Europe or made it over to the Americas, instead of the monotheistic religions like the Puritans and Quakers and those crowds coming over first, that we would have intermingled with the tribes that were here in a better way than directly confronting them. But that's that. I mean, that kind of debate is asked and answered because that's just my own personal theory on that. I'm not convinced of a God. No one need convince you. And if you're convinced, you miss the point of faith in the unseen. That's the idea. Are you convinced that air contains, more than oxygen? Yeah, atheism is an absolutism. Right. That's okay. Like I said, you're welcome to have it. It's that's what I'm saying. That's the point. As long as it's, that your actions based on whatever morality or whatever ethic that puts forward for you doesn't impact someone else's life against their will. They can always, hey man, if you want to join Jonestown or join an atheistic commune that represents the purest forms of Maoism within itself, and you buy up the whole gated community and you do it, kick ass, have fun, but you're not going to be able to implement that law upon anyone else. Does that make sense? I believe in me, damn it. It's as do I. That's why I is one of my favorite Kiss songs. Nowhere is free of religion. Sure it is. You're free of religion right now. Think of all the religions you don't participate in. Think of all the religions that may be not even in your neighborhood. You've never even heard of them, or that you've never even materially experienced them. You're free of all those. What's the difference between being free of that one and free of the other ones? That there are other people you interact with that believe something? Well, then that would be true of that's like me saying no place is free of opinion because there are people around me who have them. There you go. One can believe in God without the need to believe in a God. This is true. Well, I mean, technically, I like Bad Religion. We know musically, yeah, of course. Atheists just don't believe in one more God than religious people do. There's over 5,000 gods in history. Christians don't believe in 4,999 of them. Well, that's monotheists focus on a singular God that is above all gods. Not necessarily. As a matter of fact, Christians believe that the other 4,999 are more than likely demons. If you really press the evangelicals and the hardcore about it, the others believe it's just another face for the same God, and which is not quite the same as not believing in them. I've heard this. This is the Ricky Gervais argument that I just don't believe in one more God than you do. That kind of idea. It's okay. It's all mythology. Well, it's all allegorical. You can't verify that it's mythological because it's beyond understanding. You can't fit. That's why we say in Masonry, everyone's welcome to their own unique mistake. You cannot fit a concept as big as God or a universal intelligence or any of that stuff into the corpus callosum of a human being. It's not possible. It is a bottleneck that breaks the bottle. It's a very busy chat. Whenever I bring this up, like these are the two things that if I bring them up will set the chat on fire. That and why I don't drink. Which, by the way, you could argue that that's the side of me that is making the argument that the atheists are making here, that I view it as an intoxicant with no worth, and then poof, the whole thing. Yeah, the very same people who will argue about belief go, I believe this makes me better. It's interesting. Chatters don't seem very happy today. So really? I don't think they seem unhappy. I think we're having a spicy conversation, but it's all right. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. And meanwhile, if I may, shall we jump into the idiocy that we're going to cover today? Because I would like to remind everyone that this is supposedly what people down there in Pickens, South Carolina, what they think passes for patriotism. She's gonna tell us about how much better she is at being American than you and I are. Okay, get it right. Figure it out. Come on, straighten it out. Know what's what and what's up and what's not and what's done. You know what I'm saying? Think about it and then stop thinking and then start again. Where did this guy go? Wait, open up, you silly thing. Oh, there we go. And then, 1 second, where would that be? This would be over here. Whoops. Everything falls apart. I just want to tell you that I think she's so pretty. She's a pretty fine woman. And that's largely because I'm often turned on by women that can bench press the back end of an F-150 while not breaking gas, which I suppose is, well, it's a debate. I've always wondered, is that smell coming from her all the time or just when she swears? We'll figure it. All right, so let's give it a shot. Hey, by the way, happy 4th of July, y'all. Hey, man, happy Independence Day, man, when we separated ourselves from the monarchy and we ain't got no kings among us. Everybody's on the level, everybody's the same, everybody's equal, and hopefully we're getting more and more equal all the time, okay? I'm trying to get taller right now. It ain't working, but I do think I pooed a little every time I try it. It hurts a little, and yet I like it. All right, so let's hear the speech from Marjorie Trader Greene, Queen of the Freedom Caucus, Minister of the Freedom Caucasians in Pickens, South Carolina. Here we go. Come on now.
Stage U.S. Representative from Georgia's District 14, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
All the music playing, all the birds by the duty, a sheriff's ball friend and a NASCAR booty. I rock down the rocket and a doobity-doo. I wear a short skirt and what do you do? I'm on hey dog, dog, dog. Woof-a-doofy way dog, a dog, dog. Woof-a-doofy way dog, a dog, dog, yeah. I'm American cooter, booter, dooter, booter. Hey, yeah, hi y'all. Just fucking the music they play on this, like they're all fucking baseball players in minor league teams in the South all the time. Okay, sorry. Here we go.
I am absolutely tickled to be with so many patriots celebrating
Tickled. She's tickled, guys. She's on the verge of giggly.
our American independence. But I have something
From?
very serious to talk with you all about today.
All right, hold on. Let me. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. You can't hear serious stuff when you fly down. It's wrong.
America is in a crisis.
Oh, no. I knew it. Happy 4th. America sucks. We're in a crisis. Unemployment is the lowest it's been in 60 years. Oil is below $70, and it seems to be headed south in a very bad way. The biggest growing industries have to do with technology that require a college diploma. And yet people are working more than they ever had. And women are voting at a higher number than they have been in the last decade because the Dobbs overturning thing kicked them into high gear. It's a crisis.
The ruling political class of power.
The ruling political class. Yes, on 4th of July, we celebrate that we are being controlled by those that were voted in by other people. You wouldn't happen to be talking about the states that have 2 senators that have fewer people than some of the suburbs around me, would you?
Powerful elites in Washington, D.C. are targeting their political opposition while protecting their own from very serious crimes.
Protecting them from very serious crimes. Don't you mean protecting them from getting busted for committing very serious crimes? Or you just mean Trump and his idiots are trying to cover his crimes. They're committing a crime like fraud and false witness on the Bidens? Is that what you mean?
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
Okay.
On his first full day in office, I introduced articles of impeachment on Joe Biden.
Is on his first full day. Because why wait for actual reasons, y'all? I just want to overturn the voters' decision because that's America. One woman standing against the population of a country. On his first day born, I indicted a child on things that crimes he might commit. We'll just keep a running tally just in case.
We knew, you knew, America. We knew then what Joe Biden and his corrupt family were up to.
Oh yes, what were they up to? They were up to selling us out to China. Were they driving? Were they giving up all by the Quad and the AUKUS agreement and the CHIPS Act and bringing the supply chains back home and keeping the Trump tariffs and in some cases doubling down on them? And he was always China.
Now I serve on the Oversight Committee and under
which is in and of itself a hilarity.
the Republican-led House, we have been able to uncover in just 6 months unbelievable amounts of crime.
Yes, quite unbelievable, actually. So much so that a lot of us, when we see that, let's see, I've got a button in here somewhere. I think I put it right. Where did I? So should we go back over here? Perhaps something in here like, did this actually work? Nope. Hold on. Where did it go? That's so annoying. I built this thing and now it's acting all funny. 1 second. This guy. Hello, bullshit. How are you?
And corruption perpetuated by Joe Biden, his disgusting son, Hunter.
Oh, disgusting. He's disgusting and disgusting. That thing, that tape they have him with him on, when he was on Access Hollywood talking about grabbing women by the pussy, and that thing where he went on the news and started saying she's not even attractive enough for me to sexually assault, and the whole thing about him hiding classified documents in the shitter, and then wait. Fuck, I keep getting this guy mixed up with... Who are you talking about again?
And his entire criminal family.
Mm-hmm. Right, totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Remember when Joe Biden got all those PPP loans that he didn't actually need and he didn't pay back? Because... Oh, fuck.
Thanks to a brave whistleblower coming...
brave whistleblower at the IRS who saw things on the internet and wanted them brought into the case in a way that would have destroyed whatever case they did have. Thank God he came forward.
Forward to Senator Chuck Grassley.
I like to blow any whistle that comes my way. Let me tell you that. Joe Biden's too old to be president, and he's 6 years younger than me.
And Chairman James Comer, we subpoenaed a very specific form.
Subpoenaed a very specific form. God damn, this is exciting. It's like the end of a Columbo episode meets Criminal Minds, meets the Dahmer series, meets a copy repairman telling us about their weekend.
Form FD 1023.
Oh, sorry, starting to chub. Not FD 1023. You mean the one filed by Rudy Giuliani?
Which was generated by, in the FBI's own words, their best and most credible informant.
Oh my God. During the Trump administration, who turned out to be the president's lawyer. By the way, no, in their own, they didn't say, they did not say this person is their best and most credible informant. What the fuck does that mean? That's not even a knowable statement. Certainly not one that anybody would actually write down. The fuck? He, in their own words, is the Godhead, the smartest person with the biggest crank in the Western Hemisphere, bar none, we've measured. What are you talking about?
The form directly implicates Joe Biden in a foreign bribery.
Well, it technically indirectly implicates him, but by a factor of 2. But please continue.
Pay-to-play scheme where he and Hunter both accepted $5 million.
Did she say paid $5 million? Like she accidentally, or would she say 5 million pesos? Was she just, in her head, she's already talking about the open border?
In bribes and payments in exchange for foreign policy decisions as Vice President of the United States.
Oh my God. In exchange for doing stuff. I mean, this happened in 2017, but anyways, after he was no longer vice president, but sure.
That's right.
That's right. Boo. Yeah, boo. It's terrible. I agree. Terrible, terrible. Tell him, wait till she tells you what he did in exchange for the money. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Okay. Huh? I made a face. Just waiting for the lock him up. Since that phrase has a tendency to blow back in your face, considering nothing ever happened to Hillary and Trump put that lock her up thing out in the water, and what's happening to him, do you really want to float that right down, Marge? I just feel like in about 5 years, we're going to be looking at your indictment if this pattern continues.
By the way, this 1023 form totally vindicates President Trump's call with the president of Ukraine when he asked about Biden's crooked deal to get Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin fired.
Wait, what?
With the president of Ukraine when he asked about Biden's crooked deal to get Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin fired.
Okay, I see.
They should have never impeached President.
They should have never impeached him because just for asking that question. Of course, he threatened to withhold funds and weaponry that the Congress had already allocated and that he had already signed into law earlier that year and was approaching the deadline for where they would actually have to have a secondary vote on it. And he was in that window. It's one of the reasons why the plan didn't work is because he literally waited too long to implement it because he's a fucking moron. But also, no. It doesn't vindicate him at all. It just means he was trying to use the idiotic storyline that these dickheads have been badmintoning around the internet for a few years.
President Trump. But this wasn't all the form said. Keep
No. Obviously, there's more. 17 recordings that the guy has in case he needs them. Now, he's been on the run for 3 years and nobody's seen him. And I suppose in the last couple of years, he could have used it to get back in his own country and get his billions back. But that didn't work out. I don't know why. I guess he was waiting for, in case he needed him, in case he was in a tight spot.
in mind, this
Keep in mind.
is an unclassified form. All of you should be able to read what it says. But the FBI director, Christopher...
Well, no, it doesn't have to be classified to be part of an ongoing investigation. That's not how you keep material around an investigation, only in the circle of the people who are either defending themselves or the prosecutor's office that is bringing it. That it is, and by the way, one of the reasons why you do that in a trial is, and they've been bitching about the leaks that have been coming out about Trump, which, by the way, are all coming from his own lawyers, just because Trump thinks it proves his innocence. So he's like, let that out. Listen to what I said. I don't think I said anything wrong. That's because you're an idiot, not because it's true. And so his own lawyers are sending this stuff out. But let's just get, they're constantly talking about how Jack Smith and the prosecutors are leaking things to hurt Trump or whatever. Okay. No. They keep that secret so that they don't muddy the jury pool or make people try to position themselves to be in the jury or to make it so that the defendant can argue they couldn't get a fair trial, which is exactly what Trump's team wants. Trump's team leaks all this shit out so they can go, well, this stuff came out and you leaked it, and if you don't find out who leaked it in your office, we want a new trial because we didn't get a fair trial. That's what they're going to use, and he's been doing this shit forever. But ultimately, well, hold on, let's back up.
Victor Shokin fired.
Yeah, so again, Biden was working on behalf of the U.S. government to get Shokin fired, and on behalf of the and the IMF wanted him fired. Like, it's just silly. Like, we're so fucking past this.
They should have never impeached President Trump. But this wasn't all.
Oh yeah, but they impeached him for asking about Shokin. They impeached him for withholding. Threatening a world leader with withholding these arms that he had already signed into law that would go to.
The form said, keep in mind, this is an unclassified form. All of you should be able to read what it says.
No, you shouldn't. You don't have to classify evidence, is the point I was making.
But the FBI director, Christopher Wray, who is the head of Joe Biden and Merrick Garland's personal police force, required members...
Yes, the FBI is the personal police force of the president and Merrick Garland. So what were they under Trump? Did he have this power and he just didn't know how to use it? Is this a sign of weakness on Trump's part? Gosh, I wonder if Trump had any thoughts like, wow, as president, I can control this and no one can do anything about it.
Of Congress to review this unclassified document in a skiff in the Capitol. Then he...
Right, because of the actual informant and the path that they got that information is classified. Not the contents of the allegation or whatever.
Deceptively redacted it
so
to conceal the fact that the Ukrainian oligarch who paid off Joe Biden has 17 recorded phone calls, 15 with Hunter and 2 with the big guy himself, Joe Biden.
And none of them in all the, like, Hunter Biden smoking in the bathtub stuff or weighing crack with a hooker in a hotel room, and none of the 10% for the big guy shit that's been going on for the last year. It never thought this guy has got the only copies of these things, and he's just waiting for the day to use them. Probably in this, he's looking at Joe Biden at 80 years old and going, I'll wait till his second term.
But this isn't everything, folks.
No, it couldn't possibly. You wish.
It's just a fraction of it.
Yeah, this is just a wee. I know what you're thinking. This is hair-thin bullshit. It's just the wispy. It's just a wisp of bullshit. I know, but it's only a part of a giant, bigger pile of bullshit.
A few weeks ago, I went to the Treasury Department to review thousands of pages of suspicious activity reports on the Biden family.
Did you see any of the ones on the Trump family while you were there? Because there's lots of those. I'm guessing probably somewhere in the order of 20 to 1.
Not just Hunter, the
Oh, of course not.
Biden family.
Yes, the family. Anybody who makes over $10,000 after 9/11.
A suspicious activity report is something banks are legally required to send to the Treasury when a bank account is being used for potentially illegal activity.
And the standard for that after 9/11 was anything over $10,000.
I'd be willing to bet that none of you here have ever had one SARS report.
Okay, she personally has at least a dozen. She took some of that PPP money and she loaned it to her campaign. Yeah. And she's not independently wealthy, so there was magically a couple $100,000 just jumping from one account to another. That's how you get a SAR. And there are multiple ones past a certain point. So fuck off with this nonsense.
But what I read was shocking.
I bet. You were shocked that people could make that much on, selling an actual book.
The Biden family set up dozens of shell fake LLCs to.
Well, the shell fake LLC part is, it is Delaware after all. And secondarily, define shell and fake because Trump has 500 of them. Personally. Not the family, not the Trump family. Trump is signatory on like 1,500, but he himself has 500 LLCs, some of them just around singular bank accounts.
Under money. When most people create LLCs, it's a business.
Really? Really? Because how many of the 500 LLCs Trump has are actual businesses? Because I'm going to go with like maybe 80 of them. If you count Trump steaks and shit like that as an actual business.
I was a private business people.
They typically provide a product or a service. That's what most people do in America. But
yes, most of us provide a service. Don't forget to subscribe.
Not the Bidens.
No, the Bidens, they write books, and books have never been a service to anyone except the Bible, which you should avoid reading the second half of it.
And I don't count Hunter's paintings as any type of product, do you?
Well, it doesn't matter. It's an actual product. It doesn't surprise me you don't think art is a product. Thanks for thinking it's priceless. Mm-hmm.
The SARS reports even listed payments to Russian and Ukrainian prostitutes. The only thing the Biden family
those are definitely Hunters. Yeah.
Family ever sold is Joe Biden's political influence, and selling out the American people has made them rich beyond their wildest dreams.
Well, okay, first of all, I don't think so. I think that if you look at Hunter, especially at the height of his crack use, I'm guessing his dreams were way higher than living in his dad's lake house and having to repair the shutters. I'm just going to go out on a limb. Secondly, Trump, so what?
We must impeach Joe Biden.
Because his son used crack and got hookers when he was working in Eastern Europe, just like Rudy Giuliani did 2 years ago. I don't know if he used crack while he was over there, but, according to Lev Parnas, they visited some people.
Joe isn't the only person.
Isn't it funny that this whole speech sounds like something she's yelling through your front car windshield in a parking lot outside of a Target? Doesn't everything she says just feel like she's leaning over your car, just yelling it into your window? That's just the vibe I'm getting.
We must impeach for being corrupt. You see, you fire people in the real world when they do a bad job.
Uh-huh. And tell us about the bills you've passed, the ones that you've actually gotten. I know you introduced the impeachment thing, so let's say it's been 2 years. How much failure are we supposed to put up with, Marge?
When they're criminals. That's why I've also introduced articles of impeachment against Attorney General Merrick Garland.
That aren't going anywhere. Honestly, if this was a dude, it would be, this is the equivalent of him going, I'm going to fuck every woman here without ever even getting or sustaining an erection. It will look like a grown man trying to unclog a sink with a Vienna sausage. Trust me, it will be a sight. Honest to God, what are you doing? Listing your failures?
FBI Director Christopher Wray.
The Trump appointee.
And Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
Who's got a very suspicious foreign-sounding name. Not since Barack Hussein Obama. And Mayorkas just sounds like he's half man, half Free Willy. I don't know.
And U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves for abuse of power and weaponizing our federal government. We're a nation.
That's our job.
Without a border. A nation.
Wait a minute. Are you castigating our border control agents and our port workers and our inspectors? You saying those people just stopped doing their job? How dare you?
Without fair and equal justice, and a nation that refuses to enforce our laws.
Yes, we have refused to enforce our laws.
Without a border, a nation without fair and equal justice, and a nation that refuses to enforce our laws.
Yes, we refuses to enforce our laws. I agree. Because that would require a time machine. To refuse to enforce something that happened before, when you didn't do it when you could, sorry, I started smelling toast.
Our so-called leaders must be held accountable.
You mean you? Because, I mean, I would consider Joe Biden an actual leader, but I would consider you a so-called leader. If only because, I don't even know if he actually calls you that, but I do think the idea that you're leading in the impeachment push, for example, and it's going nowhere, that would define so-called.
Now, you may have heard in the news that a corrupt federal prosecutor wants to serve President Trump a 100-year death sentence for...
Wait a minute. Okay, first of all, the 100-year sentence or whatever isn't a death sentence. Don't you believe Ronnie Jackson? If they get him the right food, he'll live to be 200.
Moving some boxes he was legally allowed to have under the...
Yeah, the boxes aren't the question. It was what's in them, dipshit. What's the big deal with boxes, okay? What, are you going to arrest every manager of every U-Haul store in the fucking country? Oh my God, what are you going to outlaw? That's the war on Christmas. They just going after the packaging. That's what they want.
Presidential Records Act.
Yeah, no, that's it. The Records Act part is what made them realize that a bunch of shit was missing that he wasn't supposed to have. That's not what they're charging him with, stupid.
Can you believe this?
Yes, I can. I can believe that Trump is such a moron and such a failure and such an absolutely self-involved dickhead that he would pitch a fit about giving some boxes back because he thought one of his ways of getting out of his financial troubles, which are looming over every horizon he tends to look at, his one way out might be able to sell this shit, and he thought he could get away with it. Boo, give this, free his boxes, free his boxes.
Shameful.
It is shameful. So much shame. It's shame. Shame. You sit in the box and you feel shame.
President Trump, under the
former President Trump, just for the record, I'm just former and never future President Trump. I'll just throw that out there.
Law is allowed to have the documents, yet
no, he isn't.
Somehow Joe Biden hasn't been charged for having stacks and stacks of classified documents.
Mad stacks. He's got mad stacks, by the way.
In his garage, next to his Corvette, with a door that opens and closes.
Yeah, but for the record, he doesn't rent his house out to wedding parties. I'm just gonna, it's a little Slight difference in, I mean, I understand there. He's also got Secret Service protection. He's had it since he was vice president when all this shit would have gone down. Like, they literally look over the entire property. And so no matter what, when that, as a matter of fact, there's probably a satellite pointed at that garage door when it opens and closes all the fucking time, especially now. But Trump doesn't even know, I would argue, 93% of the people that set foot in there, and maybe the other 5% of the 7 or so that he does, maybe he knows them by a nickname or calls them by their company name, like Tim Appley kind of bullshit. And then a couple of them are celebrities, and then there's Kid Rock and Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, and that's it.
And you have to ask yourself,
how could Georgia get any dumber? Well, just you wait.
how was Joe Biden even able to get these documents from the time he was in the Senate?
He wasn't. Those documents, you're talking, the ones that are allegedly from his time in the Senate that are at the University of Delaware are from his time in the Senate and are completely free of his to give. Every senator can give their papers. They often do it to a school that, you know, especially if they're a long-serving senator. They'll give them to a school, and they'll be part of the legal and governmental studies programs there, and, you know, and part of their archives to go into, and people can look at historical moments that senators on big committees and that kind of stuff had. So, don't worry, you'll never have to worry about this. They're when they build the Marjorie Taylor Greene School Board President, memorial outhouse, we'll all drop by to take a shit. But since Biden was in the Senate for so long, his senatorial papers went there. What you're thinking of is the papers that supposedly were from his time as vice president that were there in the closet there that was locked, that his attorneys found and went, hey, oops, these shouldn't be here. And they took those boxes, returned them immediately without any questions asked. As a matter of fact, they ceased looking through them and just handed them all over, which is very distinctly different from, let's just say, Biden and, I don't know, who's the equivalent of Walt Nada? Anthony Weiner. Biden called Anthony Weiner and said, my lawyer's going to come back. Not a joke. He's going to come back and pick up all these boxes in a week and a half. Bring them in here so I can sift through them, and we'll sneak them back in and tell them they were there the whole time.
Would have had to have stolen them from directly inside of a skiff. You see,
well, no, because he was vice president for 8 years, and he could have gone back and did, quite frankly, go back and look at some of the paperwork from his time in the Senate and refer to his notes that he had taken that might have been in the skiff, or stuff that was during his time that mattered to when they were doing negotiations that had to do with when he'd met with delegations before. They would review things when they met world leaders, whether they were a new one or somebody like Putin who'd been there for the entire stretch, because Putin has been there since Biden was in the Congress, and then was in the Senate, and then became vice president. So reviewing those documents during those, he can go back and fuck off.
senators can't take classified documents home with them.
No, he was vice president for 8 years. Ta-da!
And then we have Hillary Clinton, who was storing classified information.
I guess you can save yourself, if they give you 12 minutes to do a speech at one of these things, you know you've always got some coasting room just by name dropping some folks. If you needed some filler. Yeah, that worked. Yeah, you had 4 fucking years. You literally had the presidency. You literally got the... All right, we got about another minute of her, and then I'm done.
It never gets old. Never.
Yeah, it actually does. Well, I guess it's got a renewed kind of interest since you fucked up so badly and it never actually happened. I think it never gets old. Oh God.
Never gets old.
It just never gets old. You know what? Yeah, it does. You're watching House Parks Megaworldwide. We don't have to put up with this shit. We're young people. We've got prospects. Now, this next video is a bit shorter, which is good, I think, because it's a holiday. You know, we need to zip through some stuff. But in following our theme today, that the right-wing maggot crowd thinks America is over. It's just over. There's nothing there. There's there's nowhere to go. Let me this I don't know what the fuck this is. Honest to God, I'm just what is that? The death of exploration is here. This is Glenn Beck. No more families staring out over canyons of, I don't know, full of dead Indians. I don't know what they're supposedly there for. American adventure is dying, and this story proves it. Thanks to recent technological advancements like the metaverse or VR headsets, safety is superseding adventurism in America, much to giant corporations and big government's delight. In fact, tech is strangling adventure, Glenn says. So this is, guys, I know a bunch of you. Let's see, what is this? Whatever, RFK Jr. 2024. Hilarious. He's a megalomaniacal asshole. No. Yeah. And by the way, I don't, you'd have to be right wing to think that, since his idea of, his economic theories are far to the right of Joe Manchin, just for the record. Just know that's where that flag is planted. And if you just want somebody who can run on an entirely anti-vax thing, I would suggest moving to what's left of Epstein Island. So anyways, this is the death of exploration. I don't know if you've known this, America, but you've apparently had a gutsectomy. Your guts have been cut out and you've got nothing. You're not going to go anywhere. And apparently, Glenn is afraid that Americans aren't going to go hiking anymore or something. I will find out. Everybody's staying home and putting on their VR headsets, and that's the end.
Yesterday, I had
all your troubles seem so far away.
Michael O'Fallon on, and he's a guy who runs a large.
This is an exciting story. He's a guy who runs a large whatever thing.
I don't know what you would call it.
Well, you know him. I don't. Is it bigger than a bread box?
A service where he is taking tours of, large tours of people and doing conferences and everything else around the world.
He's taking people on large tours and doing conferences. He's an events planner. Let me guess. He takes large groups to Israel. That's if Glenn's talking to him, that's what he does.
And teaching history.
Yeah, Israel. He's taking people to Israel
while he's doing it.
He's not, or maybe they go to the Vatican or something once in a while, but I'm pretty sure.
He was on yesterday. He was talking about.
Yeah, it was him and his little buddy and the professor and Marianne.
How the tourist industry is going to change. That the plan is that you're not going to travel. And we told you about the Vanity Fair article that just came out that is now.
You're not going to travel, America. You're not. Stop it. Don't even think of it. You're not going to travel anymore. You're going to go to Europe using a tube in the back of your head like Neo.
Being super snotty and telling the people who read Vanity Fair.
Well, again, isn't that knowing your audience?
They should just call that person. But they printed something in Vanity Fair for that person to read that said.
I say only one person reads Vanity Fair. A super snotty person, which I believe would be Glenn Beck in this scenario.
Is you're being very selfish and you're being very shallow, and you think you're educated and elite because you travel, but the opposite is true. You're small-minded if you travel. It is the most bizarre thing, but they are trying.
Okay, by the way, a single Salon article about, I'm guessing, the environmental impact of travel and them making a point about that with a guest author or somebody like that is the kind of thing Salon will have written in their pages. Well, what the fuck does that have to do with a trend in society?
Trying to get you to now look at traveling the world or the country as a bad thing.
But unfortunately, they only have one snotty dickhead reading them. So I guess he has to tell us. Thank God that snotty dickhead is here to pass that message on.
So let me tell you about Johnny, okay?
Oh, dear.
Johnny is an explorer.
Does he have apple seeds in this scenario? He's an explorer, is he? Is he going to go to Yellowstone in a Volkswagen something and park it in one of the designated areas and take one of the well-trod hiking trails up into an area that has been discovered centuries before? That kind of adventurer?
By nature, loves to explore.
That's right. He was born that way, and we beat it out of him. Stupid civilian society civilization.
By the time he was able to crawl, he was investigating the dark recesses of the master closet. He was always into something. Once he could walk.
The master closet? Okay, I'm not familiar with this kind of kinky language, but it's disgusting. Secondly, how was this kid not electrocuted early on?
They found him devising a plan to get into the attic. He's 16 now, and he's talking about going to the moon. He's talking about
and if he can only find the right pair of shoes.
Hiking the Grand Canyon, cave
Yes, he's a terrible person.
diving in Mexico. And his mother notices this. She thinks, that's...
Oh, my God. This can't be in this Salon article. This is Glenn Beck working this shit out for everyone. Oy.
dangerous. That is really super dangerous.
Yes, cave diving is actually dangerous. Hiking the Grand Canyon, less so. Going to the moon, obviously, in that jacket, you're gonna at least put a sweater on. It's freezing in space.
So she rushes to the store. She comes home with a VR headset.
That's what she does. You're never actually going to be able to walk to the moon. So here, take a good look at it. Maybe this will deter you. Yeah, I'm also thinking about doing crack and smoking hookers. Is there a Hunter Biden app that I can also use to just check it out to see if I like it before I commit to totally putting my penis in strangers and smoking a substance? Hold on 1 second. What's your credit card number? I gotta download this app.
She sneaks into her son's bedroom while
and staples it to his fucking head.
he's asleep and straps the headset to him.
Okay, this is child abuse now. I don't know. She sleeps. She sneaks into the room and straps it onto him while he's sleeping. Okay. May I? Point of order, Mr. Chairman. If I talk amongst yourselves, I'll be right back. Okay. Where were we? Run that by me again, asshole.
Into her son's bedroom while he's asleep and straps the headset to him.
She manages while he's asleep to not wake him up and straps this to him. And he doesn't even feel it. He doesn't feel the extra 2.5 pounds attached, pushing down on the bridge of his nose. And he doesn't realize that while the room looks different, it still smells the same. Space. It smells like socks and teenage boy. That's right. How did she manage to do that, Glenn? Run that by me. And by the way, while she was at it, did she make sure he had proper audio? Did she attach a Bluetooth set of headphones to it so that he would get the full? Oh my God, what an asshole!
While he is asleep, when he
all right, and then he wakes up going, "What the fuck?" like that, and then he's like throws it across the room and it smashes and it does, like one of the eyes is off kilter and it doesn't work anymore. And she's like, "I just spent $400 on basically a life helmet for you." And he's like, why don't you fucking just tell me? I would have put it on. What the fuck's wrong with you? Why are you putting shit on my head while I'm fucking sleeping, Mom? What is this? No wonder I want to go fucking cave diving. You know what's unsafe, Mom? Sleeping near you. You come in here and strap technology to my head without my consent. What the fuck?
Wakes up. He finds himself on the moon.
And he goes, wow. The moon smells like my room a mere 2 hours after I last masturbated. The moon smells so familiar, like pizza and socks. And I can still hear my parents arguing in the next room because I can still hear. It's the sound of my parents arguing. It's true. It does reach the moon and bounce off of it. He wakes up and he suddenly starts masturbating. Right.
And he never leaves his room.
Wasn't he all right?
Again.
Yeah, that's not a What's the epilogue? She buys one for herself to see what all the what the rumpus is about, and then she manages to find that he's found like VR porn sites. He was on the moon for a total of about 12 seconds, and then he found a way to hack his way into the dark web. Now he runs an international criminal conglomerate from his own bedroom. No, he never came out of the bedroom again, as far as she knows, because he snuck out the door and now lives a life of crime.
Thankfully, he has a mother who cares for him. And so he's on...
No, he doesn't. He has a psychotic who, I guess, strapped, basically found a way to staple his phone to his face.
An endless adventure in the metaverse. Johnny is safe, and isn't that what adventuring and exploring is all about?
Well, yeah, when it comes to the fucking moon, yes. When is one of these fucking lazy, weak, stupid astronauts gonna open up their spacesuits and have the balls to set foot on the moon and take a deep breath and see what the place has really got going on? It's almost like if you were on the moon, you would need some sort of safety apparatus to make sure you didn't turn into the dude in Outland and just explode. The shit is he talking about?
Moon River.
Okay. I'm all right. My only question is, when he started cave diving with it, did he ever at any point go, I don't feel wet? That never caught up to him. It never. It was enough for him, was it? I guess he was adventurous from when he was a baby, but to a certain limit. Once he Jesus Christ. How you need to have a psychoanalyst on of this guy? There is nothing to analyze.
Safety. Now,
if I were to go to the moon, I'd go tackle out.
this sounds insane.
Yes, it does. Well, I wouldn't give it insane. Ignorant and ridiculous. I wouldn't go so far as to say insane. I wouldn't give it that much credit. Insane would mean that there was sort of a commitment to the thought past a certain point.
But this is exactly where we're headed.
Okay. Yes, in 50 years, you'll be able to visit the moon virtually as a student. And then one day, if you decide to go there, we'll have a pathway technologically to go there, obviously because somebody's got to go there and film the fucking thing.
Don't explore. Don't go anywhere.
Don't try to go to the moon when you're 16 years old. Don't cave dive in the Amazon alone when you're 16 years old. Let your parents strap a phone to your face.
Just explore on the internet in your own room. Let me...
Well, there's one particular area And don't ask me how I know this, but there's an area of the internet you can explore in your own room that it gives you a taste of the outside world, no pun intended, and some experiences you might not otherwise have. But I have to say, there's a bit of a not quite a glass ceiling. I would say more like a tissue ceiling that you at some point you're going to want to step beyond. You know, speaking as someone who was a 16-year-old boy and arguably still is. So stupid.
Read a line from an actual article from MSNBC that came after the
Oh, you mean the fake news? Oh, fine. You're reading fake news to us now? Great.
Titan submersible tragedy, okay?
About whether they should have just put on a headset and gone that way instead of getting into a carbon fiber submersible that had no safety features to it. This is going to kill adventurism. You know what's killing adventurism, dickhead? A bunch of people, no matter how much money they had, dying in a fucking plastic submersible.
This is from MSNBC. Quote, I think this tragic incident affords us an opportunity. In fact, it gives us a mandate to devise safe ways for people to satisfy their adventurous spirits and educational urges. The article goes on. As people consider safer ways to...
Well, safer than getting in some millionaire dickhead's submersible that's made out of plastic lug nuts and leftovers from a Home Depot bargain bin. Yeah, here's Glenn. There's no such thing as total safety in life. As we say around here, safety third. Yes, that's our rule. Safety third. But love and adventure come first, and safety's right up there. But it cannot outpace love and adventure. That said, absolute safety, no. Safer than that piece of shit, underwater Hindenburg? Yes, safer than that. Not absolute safety, because that's not even possible psychologically, I suppose. What if you took off your headset and you realize, I haven't been on the moon this whole time. I was lying to myself.
Explore.
You can smell farts in space.
I know that's what Columbus was all about. I know that's what the Wright brothers, they were like, yeah, sure, we can fly, we can build a plane, but is it safe?
Yeah, they had to work to make it safe, stupid. And by the way, ever since then, the expansion of it is capability within the confines of safety. That's why we have an FAA, you dumb fuck.
The article goes on, as people consider safer ways to explore, I can't help but think this terrifying scenario is precisely why the concept of the metaverse, that is, a virtual world reachable through a wearable device, will never die.
Right. It's not going to take over, but it'll still be there for people who, A, can't cough $250,000 up to go into, like 20,000 leagues under the sea in a fucking Pez dispenser with duct tape on it. Maybe, just maybe, those of us that don't want to go, oh, the view's nice, as our last moment on fucking Earth, might want to get a look at something as if we're there, but not actually have to go there and dirty the fucking place up. Here's another thing. Some of these sites, the more people go down there, the more shit they put down there, the less pure of a view of it you actually can get. So the idea of seeing it virtually for billions of people, not everybody's going to be able to do that, just afford it. But even beyond that, if everybody who could did, the site would be unviewable after a period of time because we would fuck it up. Why not send down like these 360 cameras in submersibles to go around and scan the entire fucking thing and then pop this thing on and you can see what it would look like to be in the water next to it? The only purpose of being down there, this wasn't about exploration because it had already been seen. It had already been used fucking for the movie itself years ago. You're not going to discover a new fucking fish while you're down there. It's just not going to happen. These people did it as a dick measuring exercise. I went down in a billionaire submersible just so I could see it through the fucking window. That's not adventurism. That's dick wagging.
America, this is one of the choices you have to make. This is where we're headed.
Yeah, this is where we're headed. Yeah, the guy with the sniffles is telling me that I'm not adventurous enough. But hey, kudos for getting out of your studio and actually, I noticed none of those books have moved since you've been, never mind.
death of adventure, the death of
The death of adventure. When people, people used to go hunting and catch their own food. They used to catch their own food, and I sometimes, you ever wake up and you just have the urge to go and just like see a bear in the woods and just like climb on its back and fuck it to death, and then eat its skin first and swallow the teeth just so you can, so you poop a monster. Just you ever have that? And then you roll over and hit your alarm clock and you go, that was a crazy dream. What time does Sonic open? Shit.
exploration in exchange for safety.
Yes. Meanwhile, explain your fucking shirt to me. I went crazy with it's got a wild pattern on it. You can barely see it, but I'm going nuts these days. That's why I got my ears pierced and my nose pierced, and I'm just call me Glenn Face Tattoo Beck. Where's the adventurism? Why do we have to be so confined to normalcy? In golf clothes with, how come my books don't have the cover on the inside and the pages on the outside? I'm a rebel.
So you can forget the next Alan Shepard. You can forget the next Daniel Boone. You can forget.
Stop naming people we don't need anymore, stupid. And secondly, deep space, we have no idea what the frontiers will be once we start reaching deep space. But we're in one of those transition periods between where the giant leaps forward in terms of rocketry or in terms of airplanes and the like, to the next point where we get like quantum drives and that stuff. We got to wait till that happens. And there's a bunch of people trying it. I would like to remind you, in the idea that adventurism is done, this is a motherfucker who thinks, in the back of his head, clearly, that the Mandela effect actually happened and that the turning on of the CERN Large Hadron Collider was man trying to play God. So, fuck off.
The next Christopher Columbus.
The next one. The next guy who would mistakenly, in trying to find a path to the Indies, would end up the other direction. I don't know. We've all driven when, I suppose, our CarPlay stopped working.
Just put your kid behind a screen or in glasses until they become the people of Wall-E.
Wall-E. You can just say Wall-E. We know the movie. Yeah. Also, by the way, you and Stu both look like the people from Wall-E. As a matter of fact, Stu looks exactly like the guy from Wall-E. I don't know why I'm pronouncing it the same way he is. From Wall-E. Stu looks like that guy. That's what Stu looks like. You both sit around with giant Sonic gulp cups that look exactly like the shit in Wall-E. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not kidding. There is no better example.
Thank God there was no VR at the time of Lewis and Clark.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Thank God there were no rockets at the time of the Wright brothers. Thank God there were no printing presses when man first started to write. Thank God there were no sonics when when Neanderthals first learned the power of agriculture. Thank God there were no calculators when Copernicus started doing, like when algebra was formed in the Middle East in the 4th century. What? Where do you think they would have had to explore to get the materials that are in the chips that make VR headsets, you dumb shit? Thank God there were no VR headsets when we all lived in wood cabins. This is fucking dumb. This is amazing. I'm loving this. This is great. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I consider this a celebration of some of the worst that America has to offer. And yet it will do us no permanent harm. We're having such fun at Glenn's expense and his magical dipshittery. Oh shit.
because what they did definitely wasn't safe.
I obviously Glenn Beck has never tried to reach for a beverage after in the middle of a game of Creed, the knockout, like punch out game on VR, that's on a table just out of reach. You don't know what danger is, buddy.
VR will not satisfy anything. It
Well, thanks. Thanks to
won't
yourself.
satisfy our natural desire to explore, but it might strangle it to death in the crib. People who would travel the world and keep them safely in their home.
Unlike the adventurer, Glenn Beck, frontier man, who will walk straight from this air-conditioned studio into an air-conditioned car and over to an air-conditioned Sonic to get a nice bubbly sugar soda to guzzle in under a minute.
Will be the death of exploration.
Obviously, Glenn Beck has given up on discovering himself as a man with a hand mirror and a dream. Sorry. Sometimes you got to check out your business, Glenn. Be an adventurer.
The fundamental question that we have to ask ourselves is,
am I allergic to Sonic, or is it just something in here? I don't. Maybe it's my own. Can you be allergic to your own breath?
are giant corporations in charge?
Huh?
Is government in charge?
Or is God in charge? Is the Lord in charge? Lord VR, our patron saint of binocular vision.
Are we going to be told what to do and how to do it at
Well, I mean, if you're into that thing, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but some people like to be told what to do and when to do it and how to do it, and some people like to give that instruction. And I think as long as you divvy up those roles, with consent, it's up to you.
all times? Or do we ever grow up
I don't know. Glenn, are you going to be a real boy one day?
and not have someone who wants to be our parent telling us exactly what to do, when to do it?
Well, how about this, Glenn? If an adult that I have no relationship with attempts to come into my room and treat me like that 16-year-old in that story and force me to wear a VR helmet, I will punch them in the fucking yap. How about that? Just in general. Unless, of course, we've worked this little game out early and I just, never mind.
And the other is, how do we have human experiences when we're in a world of VR and that's being pushed in our era? What are we willing
being
to
pushed in our
allow
era?
tech to replace in our lives?
Gee, I can't really say. I mean, in this case, Glenn, I think, see, all right, I have to, there you go. I got to make the floor work. There we go. Thank you very much. And then confirm, and then switch to stationary, confirm. Excellent. And then we'll move this guy, move that over here. Hold on. This is so much nicer to look at than Glenn, I have to say. I'm going to open that up. There you go, to my quick settings, and then pass through. There we go. Now I've got this. And then I can grab this, put this over here. Fucking Minority Report. Get used to it. Anyways, the only value I can find in doing this, quite frankly, is that I can look, I guess I would be able to, if I open up the browser on this thing, I could probably cheat and pretend to know things I don't because it's feeding me the information you can't. I mean, I could just wear fucking sunglasses, I guess. Never mind. That'd be easier. It is weird that this thing is tracking my hands right now. I feel dirty. Let's see. Get over here. It's not perfect yet, is it? There we go. Good. Yeah, there we go. Whoops. There you go. Excellent. Sorry. I've just had a moment without Glenn Beck in my life, and it was glorious. I think I'm going to live in this forever. One second, my headset fell out while I was doing comedy jokes. Where'd you go, headset? Where'd you go? Where did the thing bounce across the floor? And it doesn't matter anyways because I can't hear. I still got one more. We'll be fine. Hi.
Our jobs, our relationships soon,
Yes, absolutely. Wait till they get feel-o-vision.
our adventures,
Our fleshlight connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot. Forget it. No way. I'm not. No. I don't trust them. Nope. What if somebody else has the ability to tighten that thing to a certain? No.
will it be the AI that explores, or will humans be involved?
Well, I think one of the areas where it would really be helpful is if AI could explore areas that might kill us that we can't do, without turning into Spock in Star Trek Wrath of Khan. That would be an area where if AI could work that out without one of us having to walk in and go, "Hey guys, we're not sure if anybody can touch that glowing rock without dying. Anybody want to give it a shot?" Hendrix, get over here. Hendrix, it's your turn. What do you mean, why is it your turn? Because Isaac's went before you, and we're going in reverse alphabetical. Just grab the rock and let's see if you melt too. Can't we let the AI do this with a robot? Where's your adventurous spirit, Hendrix? Get the fuck over there. Garrett, get over here. Garrett, grab that rock.
These are the questions that we as America should be asking ourselves this coming holiday.
Yes. America, are you going to settle for seeing the moon virtually, or are you going to fucking get off your ass and go there, you lazy assholes?
Who are we? Where did we come from?
My name is Hal Sparks. I was born in Cincinnati, raised in Kentucky, and then Chicago. Consider that home. Spent a good deal of time in Los Angeles, more time than any other city, but yet it's sort of and it is a secondary home, don't get me wrong. And I'm bounced back and forth between here and Las Vegas on the regular because that's just how my life has turned out and that kind of idea. But I am me no matter where I am. I'm at home in many ways, just in my own skin. And then in some ways, will I ever be at home? Because of that searching that I find deep within myself. These are questions I ask every 4th of July, right before a weenie.
And more importantly, where is it we are headed?
Glenn, you're headed to a Sonic, and then more than likely, you're headed to see a doctor. Where's Glenn the hiker? Where's the Glenn? All right, if this isn't the launch of the fucking Glenn Beck Bear Grylls fuck you, I'm crazier show, I don't want to hear it.
Is that where we want to go?
I suppose we'd have to know where is.
If not,
when will we want to wear there? And what are we hooing when we don't? What an asshole.
we should chart a different course.
Yes, we should chart a different course and not go to commercial. Fuck. Yeah, so that's what's eating Glenn Beck alive right now, is that the rest of you lazy assholes are too sucked up in the metaverse to go on a hike or invent something so he doesn't have to. Because let's be abundantly clear, Glenn Beck isn't quitting his fucking show anytime soon to get an engineering degree. I mean, I chart him right up there. Glenn Beck is the right-wing equivalent of those assholes who consider themselves environmentalists who throw paint on paintings or soup on paintings or what have you, and basically ruin the entire movement by going, other people should fix this, and until they fix this, I'm going to destroy things. That's great. Yeah, terrific. Way to commit. So that's kind of magic, I gotta say. We only have a few minutes left, but we always have time for the most miserable man on the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, thank you for the super chat. Like, subscribe, do the subscribe thing. Subscribe. And ladies and gentlemen, Greg Kelly, the most miserable man on the internet, who's very angry that Joe Biden is president and the entire country hasn't collapsed yet. It's driving him a bit batty, and there's no way out of it for him. Let's check it out. Here we go. Greg Kelly, the saddest, most miserable man on the internet. 0 friends, but that means at least nobody's sitting in his easy chair at his office.
I found myself
Oh, for fuck's sake. We're going back to Afghanistan.
nauseous today.
He found nauseous?
I found myself nauseous today.
See, you should, I gotta say, if you're gonna fart, open a window. It's a very small studio.
You remember this, of course.
How can we forget? You play it all the time.
Afghanistan, the war
Yes, I remember we were once in Afghanistan for 20 fucking years, and we're not.
we lost so unnecessarily.
Unnecessarily? We lost it unnecessarily. So were we gonna lose it necessarily when Trump planned to get us out? Or did we lose it because we didn't stay?
Botched by the Biden administration. No one lost a job over all that. 13
Yeah, it's interesting that nobody lost their job during the Trump administration for not getting us out at all.
service members lost their lives, but these guys are still at work, especially Joe Biden. Now the State Department.
Well, I mean, he was elected. He's not appointed, or so. Yeah, I mean, you go ahead and try to impeach him for what, not keeping us in Afghanistan.
Put out a report today. It's not even a slap on the wrist.
It's not even. Ugh.
An after-action report supposed to document all the mistakes
State Department, Biden botched Afghan withdrawal.
they made.
Okay.
It's pretty thin, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that quite. I think the shorthand, all I need is the Chiron. I don't.
Should be volumes long.
Shouldn't it? It should be. But they wouldn't include any of the fuck ups of the Trump administration and the promise to get us out and never getting us out and any of that shit, I guess.
This was a disaster for the world, for America, for Afghanistan.
We're still here, right? Our economy's still functioning. We're no longer spending billions of dollars in Afghanistan. We have the fastest and strongest post-COVID recovery in the world. We have the most resilient economy in the world. What was the catastrophe? I mean, it was sad that those people died. I wish they hadn't. But had Trump taken everybody out using COVID as a predicate, which he absolutely could have done, that wouldn't have happened.
For our homeland security, unvetted Afghanis still walking around America. Remember how they crammed them on those planes?
Yeah, they didn't come to here. Those planes went to Germany and Pakistan and other places. They got them out of Afghanistan. They didn't get them into the United States.
So Joe Biden today somehow tried to interpret all of this as, I was right, and it was all a success.
Oh, he's talking about people were saying that Al-Qaeda would take over if we left. One of the things they kept saying over the years, if we get out, Al-Qaeda is going to take over.
Mr. President, when you need a failure in Afghanistan, mistakes, there was a report on Afghanistan withdrawal saying there was failure, mistakes. Do you admit there was mistakes during the withdrawal and before?
No, all the evidence is coming back there. Remember what I said about Afghanistan? I said Al-Qaeda would not be there. I said it wouldn't be there. I said we'd get help from the Taliban. What's happening now? What's going on? Read your press. I was right. Thanks.
Yeah, Glenn, I don't know what to tell you, man. I know you're mad, but
Knew he was out of it, but this is just insanity.
this is just terrible. So that Al-Qaeda didn't take over, and that's what we got to be glad about.
No one knows what he's talking about.
I know exactly what he's talking about. One of the constant things that the generals were saying, both to the press and to the president, both during the Obama administrations and probably during the Trump administration, although he was always too busy telling everybody that he knew better than the generals and he knew better than ISIS and he knew better than, I don't know, the Lord Jesus himself, that one of the reasons you don't get out is because if the vacuum created is that the Taliban will fall to Al-Qaeda and it'll become an Al-Qaeda or effectively an ISIS state, and it isn't.
The arrogance.
The arrogance of the guy who won't still talk about something that happened almost exactly 2 years ago, like it was yesterday, of a promise that he kept.
Somehow he could say Afghanistan was not a failure. I was right. The Taliban are helping us. Al-Qaeda isn't there. He's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. Recap. August 2021. Remember the chaos? It was like Saving Private Ryan. It was totally out of control. This could have been avoided. Thank God we had our service members there. Do you remember how they saved children, women and children, including that baby over the fence? Our service members, total heroes. But
right. And they had to be there and they needed to be there. And that's where the exit was always going to be. And it was always going to be messy no matter when we went. And
our diplomatic officials and our political leadership out to lunch. I mean, look at the runway scene. I'll never forget where I was in the kitchen. And the media were trying to say that this was, they didn't even notice it. They just saw this jet going by and didn't comment on the thousands of people running next to it. And now the Taliban are in charge. They were in charge hours later. They were in charge.
No, yes, that's what he's saying, that Al-Qaeda isn't. That the Taliban has been pushing back on Al-Qaeda and on ISIS.
While we were still there. Look.
Like, again, I would argue they are the lesser of five evils. And when the spread is that thin, nobody's going to be that good.
Look at this. This is the Oval Office of Afghanistan.
Yeah, and who's that guy right next to with the striped shawl on right there? That's the guy that Trump freed from a Pakistani prison and negotiated the entire withdrawal with.
And these are all Taliban senior leaders who are...
Yes, most of whom Trump freed from prison.
Running the country to this day.
Right, who Trump negotiated with specifically while not negotiating with the Afghan government.
13 dead U.S. service members. Remember when they came off the airplane in Dover, Delaware for the dignified transfer?
Yes, I do.
We had a problem, though. The commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, not at all dignified. He could not wait to get out of there for all of his empathy, for all of his, I'm the consoler-in-chief. Yeah, you saw that, right? He just looked at his watch. He looked at his watch.
Yeah, we dealt with this before. Why don't you just go on a tan suit, motherfucker?
He doesn't care. The thing that he was supposed to deliver, the empathy, all that stuff.
They have meetings after this, and like one of the things he said was that he was touching his Beau Biden bracelet that he has there as a and he looks at it. He looks at the message on there. It just happens to be on his watch hand. Maybe wear it on the other hand. Maybe that'll do it. I don't know. But either way, that part, that's not while those guys are being carried out.
It was all a lie. And
what was the lie?
Today, what actually did he say?
I said Al-Qaeda would not be there. I said it wouldn't be there. I said we'd get help from the Taliban. What's happening now? What's going on? Read your press. I was right.
I was right. I was right. He's wrong. He's delusional. And he's arrogant. He has such contempt for us. He thinks...
Yeah, Greg, you seem upset, buddy. Does it, again, are you just mad that it took him 3 months longer than Trump's deadline to get people out safely because Trump didn't do any of the fucking homework? Or that he did it when you know full well Trump never intended to follow through? Is that the big part?
He can get away with this? He can't. Let's put it up, please. The Taliban are in charge. Al-Qaeda is all over the place. What he said today makes no sense. Everybody knows this. The United Nations put out a report. Now,
links between Taliban and both Al-Qaeda and Taliban in Pakistan remain strong and symbiotic. A range of terrorist groups have greater freedom of movement under the Taliban.
Not too long ago, Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, they are working together in their mutual hate
yeah, but not taking it over. That's the point.
Of humanity. Look at what has...
Their mutual hate of humanity. I didn't realize that was the ultimate goal. So are they punching each other first, or are they killing each other's women, or I don't know where they start.
Been left behind. Look at the women, the poor women who have been brutalized.
Whoa. The poor women. Asshole, you didn't want any of those women to be allowed to come to the United States in the first place once we were getting out. And secondarily, then take it up with Trump. If he was the guy who ran on, you liked him when he was running on us getting out of Afghanistan. Where is the circumstance where us getting out of there, along with the UK and Australia and other Western countries, the minute we step out of there, that's what happens in that country. You know that full well, no matter who's in charge when it happens. It's why the other presidents didn't want to do it, quite frankly. It's partly why Obama, at certain points, his generals managed to talk him out of it, and where Trump just wasn't even interested. He just didn't want the poll numbers at any given point.
Who can't go to school, who are being sold into sex slavery, children, their organs are being...
Well, then, I would say, let's see. Let's see if I get to. Let's see if I can get a video version of this too. Give me 1 second. Let's go to here and here. Let's go to let's see.
We had peace talks scheduled a few days ago. I called them off when I learned that they had killed a great American soldier from Puerto Rico and 11 other innocent people. They thought they would use this attack to show strength, but actually what they showed is unrelenting weakness. The last 4 days, we have hit our enemy harder than they have ever been hit before.
Yeah, also bullshit.
And that will continue.
He's talking about the Taliban meeting at Camp David. He was going to have them meet at Camp David. He was inviting the Taliban to Camp David.
And if for any reason they come back to our country, we will go wherever they are and use power the likes of which the United States has never used before.
Yeah, whatever. We'll nuke the fuck out of Afghanistan. We'll nuke it back 16 weeks. Yeah. Meanwhile, if I may,
I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes
Hold on one
Breaking
second.
News. Former President
Memorial Day weekend, we are honored to be joined by Royce McCollum, the Gold Star sister of a fallen warrior Marine.
This is from May in 2022. It talks about. Hold on.
Took place. It's
Hold on,
hard
it's
to
Abdul.
say. So sad that that whole event took place. You take out your soldiers last.
Which we did, by the way. The last person to leave was a soldier.
We didn't have one soldier killed. We didn't have one American killed in 18 months. I spoke to the head of the Taliban.
The Taliban. I didn't realize it was pronounced that way. La di fucking da. The Taliban.
In his sock drawer.
It's very fancy. MAGA, get the Taliban on the phone.
The Taliban
Or a ban. Ban. Doesn't matter.
is tough. And
They're tough. They're tough guys. They're tough.
they're smart. You know, when I say people are smart,
They're tough and smart.
oh, he said they're smart.
Yeah, they're not smart. They're not smart at all. They're violent and psychotic.
They asked me, is President Xi of China, 1.4 billion people, is he smart? I said, yeah.
I said, I actually believe the 1.4 billion number, even though it's closer to 800 million.
He's smart.
If that.
Very brilliant, actually. He called President Xi brilliant. What the hell am I going to say? He's running with an iron fist. 1.4 billion people. No, he's not smart. If you said...
Again, what the fuck does that mean? You don't think there's been, like, idiotic, inbred, stupid rulers for a while? Like, what about the guys that led before him? Jiang Zemin was equally as smart or less smart now because there's... Maybe he's smarter because there's fewer people now in China than there were when he left.
Putin's come down a long way.
Has he? He's come down a long way.
But if you said Putin was smart, you'd get excoriated.
Yes. Yeah, especially if you talk about him from a military level.
But if somebody else would have said it, it would have been okay.
No, it wouldn't.
But you know, when I look at what we've been through and all.
Also, shouldn't there be a difference between what the president says about world leaders, especially the violent ones, than just rando members of the press or the public? Shouldn't it be a higher standard? I guess not. He was the guy.
All of the things that we've been through, I said, I want to call up the Taliban. I want to speak to the Taliban.
Yeah, they have the same attitude towards women that I do.
Jesse James, they said, why do you rob banks? He said, that's where the money is. Then they said, why is he speaking to the Taliban? Because
that's where the violence
where
is.
the problem was, right? In Afghanistan. So I got him and I spoke to him.
No. The problem wasn't the Taliban. The problem was an unstable government. That was the part we were trying to rectify. What the fuck?
A couple of times. Why is he speaking to the Taliban? You know why I'm speaking?
Well, again, I don't know about the speaking part that bothered everybody. It was the breaking him out of jail part that was fucked up.
Because I don't want soldiers killed. That's why I'm speaking to the Taliban.
Yeah, so you negotiated a surrender, said don't kill any of our guys by this date and we'll be out. And then you now admit you never intended to leave, so they would have taken up killing our soldiers again. Right? I mean, a deal's a deal.
So I said, Abdul, wonderful to speak to you, Abdul. I'm sure you're a lovely person. These are fighters. These are people, they've been fighting for 1,000 years. They live in
They're very old. He's tired.
crevices. They're very good fighters. All you have to do is ask.
They live in crevices? What?
People, they've been fighting for 1,000 years. They live in crevices. They're very good fighters. All you have to do is ask the Soviet Union, which became Russia, smaller. He's trying to build it up. It's not working so well because we're going to have a lot of land, but there's not going to be a lot on it. But there's a lot of death. A lot of death.
Jesus Christ, have a lot of land. He thinks they're going to get those parts of Ukraine. This is in May of last year. He's like, he was convinced Russia's going to keep that territory in Ukraine. You're going to get a lot of land out of this, but there won't be a lot of people because everybody's dead.
But when you look, I said to him, Abdul, don't kill any soldiers.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Abdul. Don't do it, Abdul. I talked to this guy. I talked directly with this guy. And then the thing, I talked to this guy and I was like, we have a lot in common, Abdul.
Sold into sex slavery.
Abdul, don't do it. We'll leave. You don't have to kill any of our soldiers, Abdul. And then as soon as we're out of there, you can go back to doing whatever you like to do.
Children, their organs are being sold. Can you believe this? Children, more than half of Afghanistan's people are starving. The Afghan
From Time News.
people are surviving, some of them, by selling their children and organs. Yet Joe Biden says he was right. He would.
Well, again, isn't that an argument for letting, especially the Afghans that helped us, into the fucking country? And also, wouldn't you have a bit of an issue with the person that argued that the Taliban should be in charge?
Is right. Now let's go back to his predictions before today, July 2021, before the chaos. He said there would be no chaos.
The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army. They're not remotely comparable.
Which is, by the way, absolutely true. The suicide bomber was ISIS-K. The Taliban did not attack or run out our people.
In terms of capability, there's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It is not at all comparable.
Which is true.
It turned out to be the perfect comparison.
No, it didn't, because the people that were on that plane that you were showing are not U.S. citizens and are like administrative staff at the embassy or our soldiers at all. There were Afghans trying to get the fuck out.
The escape, the evacuation out of Saigon, 1975.
Yeah, that's all embassy staff. That's all people who work there. There's not Vietnamese people. Those are Americans.
On the left, and what happened in Afghanistan in the final days on the right.
Yeah, I see a huge difference. I don't. Do you see anybody on the roof of this building waving at that person? Do you see this one picking people up? I see one flying over, but I don't know. Was there ever a time in Afghanistan when a helicopter like that, while we were there, wouldn't be on the regular flying through the sky like that?
Is the perfect comparison. Joe
No, it's ass. As a matter of fact, these two pictures are very distinct. And you can trust me. I used to read highlights for children
Biden was
at the dentist's office when I was a kid.
wrong. He suffers from delusion, overconfidence. More on that in a moment.
Overconfidence.
Oh, that, of course, is dishonest.
Yes, Trump is not dishonest and overconfident. Good Lord, man.
We know he's a liar, and here's proof that he was trying to get the president of Afghanistan to lie. Reuters, he's having a conversation.
Yeah, because we were trying to get our people out safely. Yeah, this just saying, oh, fuck, the whole thing's falling apart, you suck, is not how you get people out of a dangerous situation. You need to play up that there's stability so that the Taliban doesn't say this is the time to strike. And that's, yeah, whether it's true or not. Exactly. We're trying to keep things calm so we can get the fuck out of there. If you cause a bunch of deaths by screaming to the high heavens or calling a press conference and saying things are falling apart, it's not going to work out well for you. Any president who didn't do that would be suspect.
With the president of Afghanistan, and he's saying you got to say better things about how our guys are holding up. There's a need, whether it is true or not, there is a need to project a different picture.
Yes, that need is getting our people out safely.
All right, things weren't going well, but you got to...
Sorry, were they going well all during the Trump administration? So well that we didn't need to leave. Also, why was he going to keep us in Bagram forever?
Check that things are going well. So here's something else. The military, he's...
By the way, is this his fucking 4th of July message? What the shit?
At heart, he just wants to blame somebody else. Check it out. Do you think he's telling the truth here?
Your top military advisors warned against withdrawing on this timeline. They wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. That wasn't true. That wasn't true.
They didn't tell you that they wanted troops to stay?
No, not in terms of whether we were going to get out in a time frame, all troops. They didn't argue against that.
So no one told, your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
No, no one said that to me that I can recall.
That I can recall. That's a Washington trick that I can recall. He does not deserve to be believed by anybody. His track record as a liar is too well established.
Well, establish it for us. And by the way, look up, asshat.
And he doesn't respect us enough to at least fire somebody, all right? Fire one of these guys. I mean, Blinken, Sullivan, Blinken is hit somewhat hard in this new report, but he goes way back with Joe.
Oh, God.
And Joe is as
loyal, I guess, is the word.
Responsible as anybody.
And also, what was going to be the difference there? Also, and again, let's go back to his other point. Let's go back to this point, this ridiculousness that, like, because no one told him that it'll stay stable if we just keep 2,500 troops there. No, not a single one of these guys, nor any of his generals, were saying we can guarantee stability if we keep 2,500 troops in the country for the foreseeable future. None of them were arguing that. As a matter of fact, they were arguing the exact opposite. They're like, yeah, there's no way that past a certain point, the Taliban is starting to punch holes in the South, and unless we put more people in, which is what like most of the guys, by the way, who are arguing to stay, were arguing for a 9,000 troop increase, much like the surge.
Because he's so convinced of his insight, partially because of Bo.
No, what do you mean? This whole, like, partially because of Bo? Fuck you. Secondly, Trump was like, I know better than the generals. I know more about ISIS than the generals do. And well, did you know that ISIS-K was going to be the bomb thrower in the evacuation? Were you just wrong about the date? You thought it would be in May when your original date was?
Now, Bo was a great guy. Bo served in Iraq. But Joe seems to think, since he had a son in the military, and I've heard this from numerous people.
Yeah, around here at Newsmax.
In the military, in the Pentagon, who had to deal with him, that somehow he had special insight and expertise, that he was smarter than the generals.
Okay, first of all, Trump actually said that. Secondly, Biden was against the surge and he was right.
Joe Biden is not smarter than the generals. A lot of...
You seem to think the generals are all idiots anyways.
These generals aren't that impressive.
Right. So what the fuck are you trying... Was Trump then?
Joe's even less impressive.
He got us out. He got us out. hard as it was, painful as it was, 20 fucking years, everybody promising to get us out, even all the way back to fucking Bush. Bush was the one that first started making the promises about us getting out of Afghanistan. Biden did it. Fuck you. End of story.
What a waste. It did not have to end this way.
Well, according to Trump, it didn't have to end. Ever.
And Joe, you have some nerve characterizing this the way you did today. All right, now this. So, the student...
Oh, God. He's going to this shit? Okay, we're like... I think they're stacking up Greg Kelly clips just because they're bored of editing. And it's a holiday, so I'm going to let you guys go. And I appreciate you being here. And thanks for hanging out with me. And I would like to remind everybody that anybody in an argument... Now, let me open this up to you guys so I can see this. Anybody been in an argument, in a relationship, friendship, something like that, and the other person, after they have clearly lost any of the high ground, any of the basis for their argument, starts calling, arguing like, I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. That kind of language, talking about perfection in it, which is really an out. It's a way of getting out of the fight by laying the idea that now it's on you. You are expecting perfection in an imperfect situation from them, and how dare you do that? That is the fallback, ironically, in the world of Trump, for anything that, where Biden was successful and is doing something, whether it's unemployment, whether it's the jobs numbers, whether it's the shortening of the supply chain, whether it's any of the other, like the building of our alliances, the bringing NATO back together, and certainly when it comes to Afghanistan, getting out of there. And the idea is that somehow by simply saying that, warts and all, the Biden approach has been better than the Trump approach, and arguably to some degree the latter years, the Obama-Biden, approach in terms of their idea of when they would get out. Because again, he was second in charge. He was the last voice in the room and that kind of stuff. But it was ultimately Obama's decision to make in those times. So he didn't get to make that decision when it came time for him to make that decision. Hindsight being 2020, he was like, "We're done. I'm not going to be talked into this shit like everybody else has again and again and again and again. We're not going to keep losing people after this date just because you guys think we should stick around. It's not safe. There's no vested interest for the United States. Let it be somebody else's problem. It's not the graveyard of empires because they've sought something great in Afghanistan and failed to claim it. It's because every empire that's ever gone into Afghanistan eventually realizes that the fight is not worth it." So, total respect to Biden for getting us out of Afghanistan as he did in the only way he could, because of the circumstance that he was given in terms of the timeline, moving that timeline, none of the work having been done before he got into office, making up that work in as fast a time as possible. If you'll recall, they were going through the process of vetting people, getting them their visas and that kind of stuff, and they still couldn't keep up with the number because Trump, we now know, never intended to leave. He was always going to keep Bagram, and we were always going to have a full embassy there, because whether it was safe or not. It was always a lie. But in retrospect, he's like, we were going to get out with dignity and beauty and beauty and dignity. Well, then why the fuck didn't you? What changed? What changed in Afghanistan from 2016 to 2020? What singular thing? From January 2017 on to the end of the Trump presidency, the day he fucking left, what was different in Afghanistan? Like, we were this close. We coulda. We almost made it. What changed? Nothing. Afghanistan was in a state of this painful stasis the entire time. So even when the generals came to him and said, we need a little more time or whatever, it never paid off. And either his person, woman, man, camera, TV kind of memory was just ass and he couldn't figure it out, that he'd heard this before and he didn't know how to react. He was just on that treadmill of decisions, and he didn't want the bad poll numbers, so he just said, fuck it. What changed in Afghanistan? I'll tell you what changed in Afghanistan in the last 6 years. Biden ran on getting us out, and he did. As painful as it was, as dangerous as it was, as complicated as it was, As soon as he was sworn in, they busted their hump even beforehand because they were already starting to work on their plan before he got in. As soon as he could actually give those orders, they established a new date, started moving towards it, negotiated an exit, sent in 6,000 troops to help clear people out of there, started the evacuation process, and we are now, after 21 years at that point, out of Afghanistan. We have been out of Afghanistan for 2 years now. Not a promise, not a maybe, not a future, not a, yeah, but we'll keep Bagram. Yeah, we'll still have 2,500 troops scattered about. Yeah, no, out. As promised. If there's work to be done socially in Afghanistan in regard to how the Taliban treats its women and its gay people and its minorities, its religious minorities and the like, if there's work to be done around that, then I would say develop a process to get those people over here. Because if they're not willing participants in that kind of a society and they want to live a free and open life, it's a good place to do it. And we'd be lucky to have them. Because people who've been through that kind of hell and worked that hard and ice skate uphill every fucking day of their lives just to live, given the kind of toehold that you can get in America, can make great things. So, and in many ways, if the Statue of Liberty is for anyone, it's for people like the Afghans that helped us, saved our troops, protected people. And so, out of respect for those that died, I will never say that their sacrifice was in vain, especially on that day of evacuation. They didn't die for nothing. They died in that process of getting us as a nation and our people out of that country. And spitting on their graves to make a political point because you don't like that you lost the last presidential election is grotesque. And it's out of respect for those soldiers and for all the ones that fought, whether they liked me or my ilk or not, whether they liked minorities among us, whether they liked gays among us, whether they wanted women to vote ultimately or not, but went to battle and fought for that right anyways. That is a moral greatness that I don't think they get enough respect for. Because that is laying your life on the line for the concept of Voltaire. I do not agree with what you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. And that in even our failed military operations in the United States was always based, at least in theory, on that freedom. And if we stay with that, if we use that as our guiding point and make decisions about whether we go into battle or where we go into battle on that, then our use of force will at least have an honorable reason behind it. But if we just give it up and shrug our shoulders and go, who gives a shit if somebody like Trump gets in there? Again, it doesn't really matter. I don't like those other people, so let them have it. Then we dishonor everybody who died for those rights that we all take for granted. So on 4th of July, I would just say, recognize the times when you may have taken it for granted. Recognize the times when you don't understand that your ability to complain or protest or march against your own government is a rarity even in modern times and something you can appreciate. And the fact that anyone among us can run for office and have a decent shot at getting in on their own merits is extraordinary in world history, much less right now on this planet. Don't piss away your vote. Make it matter. Have a long-term plan like you would for raising a child or buying your dream home or having a career or getting educated or learning a skill for the long run. Being a citizen should be the same thing. Other than that, I have no opinion. Except that I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And happy 4th of July, please. And remember,
Where's Dick? Hi, Dick. Do we like Dick? Yeah. What?
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Whoa, say, does that star